Every Gears of War brought something special. Something that made the series feel raw, emotional, unlike any other shooter. But somewhere along the way, a few of those things disappeared. So today, I'm going game by game, breaking down what each Gears title did right that Gears of War EA needs to bring back. Let's start where it all began, Gears of War 1. Now, what I would bring back from this game is easily the visual. This game was raw horror. The lighting, the atmosphere, how claustrophobic some of the environments felt, the weather, everything that was dark and gritty made this game a staple. You can even see it with the 3 remasters or 3 versions of Gears of War 1 that we have. Gears of War 1 to me looks better than Reloaded and Ultimate Edition. And they went lighter on so many things like the blood, how dark and gritty certain things are, the rain, all of that really does matter in making that real horror type environment. And that's my favorite version of Gears of War. 2 other things that I would absolutely love to see from Gears of War 1 is for multiplayer, which is going to be the lobby finder. I feel like that was incredible. And I would love to see that return so people can, do their own things and still host public lobbies that everybody can find them on. Gears 5 has this as well, but this was the first one. And it's also like, it's one of those things that it started in 1 and they took it out and they put it back in. It's so weird, right? And then lastly for Gears 1, the sound design was top notch. It also built that horror type environment, the atmosphere that I love from Gears of War 1 that I would love to see come back in EA, because everything had like some type of bass. It was super gritty. It was like metallic, you know what I mean? It's like rusty. It was just fire. I just love it. So those are the things I would say from Gears of War 1. Let's move on to 2 next. Now, Gears of War 2 was the game that really caught me the most and honestly hooked me into becoming a Gears of War player. The number one thing I'd like to see return that was in Gears of War 2 was the massive emotional campaign moments, like the Rift War mission. You had Dom's arc, you had Ty dying, you had B Carmine dying. It was just an emotional roller coaster, and that campaign to me is still the best campaign to come out in any Gears of War title. The emotional ties that were built to characters in this game were massive. And for multiplayer, a lot of people don't really realize this, but sometimes the game modes you're playing are often bad because the maps they're on. And Gears of War 2 had some of the best maps in the entire franchise. Now, this is still the symmetrical version of the map, which is basically all of them, but they had a different type of balance tool where they flowed for different game modes very well. Like you could play Jacinto, Blood Drive, Pavilion for multiple game modes like Wingman, Guardian, King of the Hill, and it didn't feel unnatural based on which one you played. They were very versatile and like well-rounded. I would love to see that be recaptured and returned. And then a bonus thing I'd like to see return from Gears of War 2, which I also feel like they missed the mark in every single other Gears of War game, is the main menu. I know that probably sounds weird, right? But there is nothing like the Gears of War 2 main menu with the aura it gives, man. It lights your whole room up red. It's like just super dark and gritty. It just makes you I don't know, it's just an insane feeling. I don't know how to describe the feeling, but you guys know. If you play Gears 2, I'm gonna show the menu too, but look at this. Now we have Gears of War 3. Gears of War 3 was also one of my favorite Gears of War games, probably is my favorite one, because it had that amazing balance of a good campaign as well as multiplayer. But from Gears of War 3, I mainly had more multiplayer takes. Now, what I liked in 3 is I feel like it had a pretty good balance between speed and weight, and it also had a nice tuned weapon balance as well that went with it. Some people will argue making everything OP is not a way of balancing, but it actually worked out pretty well in that game. What I would love to see return from Gears of War 3 is the starting loadout weapons increasing. Yes, we could say the retro, the sawed-off, the hammers might have been OP at times, right? But it's the fact that I feel like that was a very good experiment for Gears of War to have. And to me, I think that it actually hit the mark. Of course, dying to the sawed-off was not fun back then. But I think the ability to have something, especially with the technology we have now and the new engines and stuff like that, to make it super consistent, I think that having more starting loadout weapons will be a very good thing for the game, especially when it comes to bringing in multiple different audiences. This also introduces multiple new skill curves as well as versatility. So next up, what's funny about this one is that this is often referred to as the worst Gears of War games, but I also think it is the most innovative Gears of War game to ever come out. And there are a lot of things that I would like to see return from Gears of War Judgment. So to start off, I think the number one thing I would like to get back from Gears of War Judgment is the overrun game mode. Now, I know a lot of you guys are probably tripping that I did not say Beast from Gears of War 3, and this is why. I think the ability to play from special locust characters such as the Butcher, Wretch, Berserker, and stuff like that in a PvP environment is better than splitting up the game modes between Horde and Beast. Overrun brings a lot of potential for a new audience for Gears of War, and if it's done right, it could easily be successful. For you guys that don't know what Overrun is, imagine Horde combined with the Beast game mode from 3. You're able to play as a special locust, and then for the cog side, you're able to like build fortification, use turrets and stuff like that. And there's multiple different actual classes that have certain perks attached to them for you to defend against the the locusts that are trying to overtake you. In addition to Overrun, what I also like to see is the map design return. Now, I don't want all the maps to be like Judgment maps, but I would definitely like Gears of War to explore with asymmetrical maps again that are on a large scale. I think Judgment has some of the best maps in the game, especially when it comes to trying to increase the player base or the player size per lobby, as well as having more game modes, right? If you ever want to experiment with an attack and defend game mode, or we want to experiment with some bigger team battles, we need the Judgment style maps. We need the larger library, streets, and those type of maps in order to increase the scale. I think it's another thing that Gears to do that obviously it wouldn't be something returning because we never had a large scale game mode. But if they did want to do that for E-Day, like maybe like a 10 on 10 or something like that, that would be the way to manage it. Another thing that is a little bonus from Judgment as well, which I was so surprised to never see a return, is I would actually like to see the animated character skins come back. I don't know why they never made a return after Judgment, even though they looked so well. I think Judgment had some of the best customization, even though it was slightly limited in comparison to like 4 and 5, but it had some of the best customization as well. And I'd also like to see things like banners and emblems and things that you can kind of showcase in a lobby or in the match to show off maybe some type of achievement you got during the game from grinding. I would compare it to Apex's player cards or Call of Duty's calling cards. But if none of these other things got added in, I think Overrun was genius, and that is the #1 priority for sure. So let's move on to the next game. Now, we have Gears of War 4. Gears of War 4 is actually one of my late favorites because a lot of things in this game made it feel very fun multiplayer-wise. The #1 thing I like to take away from this is the ranking system. I don't know why after Gears 4 and 5 they removed the ranking system at some point, but we need to have something like that in place for multiplayer. I just don't understand, how we could have an arena shooter that doesn't have a ranking system that it can visually shows you where you are. We have to get away from this to standard leaderboards. That is so outdated and old. Nobody really cares. Have a rank system that constantly resets and lets people fight for the top rank, as well as gives incentives for getting that top rank. It wasn't too many things from Gears 4 that I want to take away because a lot of these things actually got pushed to 5 and then got better in 5. So let's get straight to 5 on things in this game that I would love to see return for E-Day. That are just some accessibility things, as well as like multiplayer changes. Gears 5, it could be because of the technology as well, but Gears 5 is easily the most consistent feeling Gears of War game to date. And I really do think that they nailed the fluidity in that game as well. Some people might think it's too much, which is fine, but there's definitely a way they can scale it down to make it maybe feel more like Reloaded, but still keep that same level of fluidity of like that it has, right? It's super consistent. It's super fluid. You know what you're going to get each fight, It wasn't perfect, but I did really like it. Certain small details I like to see come back from multiplayer that I think were pretty cool were things like hit markers, no active reload damage boost for starting loadout guns, the actual gun reticles when you aim down sight, the field of view slider. So yeah, that's pretty much it for that, man. Make sure you guys comment below. I would love to see what you guys think that I may have missed, or things that you would like to see get added on long E-Day that may have been in the recent Gears of War title, or something that's completely new. I would love to see that in the comments below. We'll make another video on this as well, but on things we'd probably not like to see return. So make sure you comment, like, and subscribe for your boy, and peace.